Island, New York, granting authorization to tenant Max Moving Company to request a special use permit for use of 3,500 square feet of the building for trucks and storage units. The property is zoned industrial. And Dwight is here from Max.
Yes.
If you could just say your name so that Anna has it for the record.
Dwight Merrick.
Max, okay.
And if you could just give a brief description of what your company does.
So we're a household goods mover. We move 90% residential customers and about 10% commercial customers. Very little long distance. We average we have 18 employees currently and growing. We have 3 trucks currently, and we've been in business for about 8 years now.
And what are your hours of operation?
So we normally run between 9 and 5.
Monday through Friday or 7 days?
So 9 to 5 is our actual office hours, but you know, we sometimes maybe get the crews there a little earlier, or they may come back a little later depending on how long the move is.
Okay. Maggie and Todd, do you have any questions?
No, I'll just make a comment. So Max Moving Company has been located at Forest Center Court for quite some time now, several years. It was an oversight, and this pretty much, although inconvenient, we do appreciate your cooperation. This came to our attention when there was another request to occupy at Forest Center Court. So really this is just to clean up our paperwork as far as that is concerned. So again, we do appreciate your cooperation in this. Todd and I did an inspection there on March 11th, and Max Moving Company had relocated for the time being from the time of our last planning board meeting till today. We went again today, and he was still not vacating the property. So he did vacate the premises to eliminate the violation at the property so that we could hear both special use permits for Forest Center Court today.
Are there any questions from the public? No. Any questions from the board? If not, could I ask for a motion to approve the special use permit?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Then it's granted. You're all set.
Thank you.
We'll need a CO, right, Mike?
Yeah.
I'll let
Yeah.
Our second request is from James D. Finning, owner of Forest Center Court, Green Island, New York, granting authorization to Chuck Lafundy Jr., owner's representative for Elite Marble and Stone, LLC, to request a special use permit for prospective tenant, Elite Marble and Stone, LLC, to occupy 7,200 square feet of space for fabrication of stone countertops. The property is owned industrial. And Chuck isn't here, but Jimmy's gonna do it.
Okay. George DiBernardo is the owner of Elite Marble and Stone, and it's a very simple shop. He does granite countertops, and what he's looking to utilize the space for is just the manufacturer. He won't have a showroom or any visiting people that will come and see what he does. It's just it's where he's going to have the granite delivered. He'll cut and polish it there, and then it'll go out to be installed from the shop.
How about hours of operation?
Pretty much from 9 to 5 as well.
Monday through
Monday
Friday?
through Friday.
Okay. How about employees?
I think currently he has about 6 employees now. I don't know if he's looking to grow further from that, but that's what he told me, that he had about 5 or 6 guys working there every day.
How about truck traffic?
Truck traffic, I would think would be minimal. I'm sure they'll get supplies in probably on a weekly basis. I think he runs 2 trucks for installation. So, you know, they're like F-350s, larger pickup trucks.
Okay.
That
So no tractor trailers or anything like that?
Trailers,
Smaller
no.
box trucks and regular trucks?
No,
Okay.
I think it'll be minimal.
Maggie, Todd?
I got a question. With the cutting of the granite, you're gonna have a sediment
Yeah.
from the granite.
Yeah.
And I think we talked briefly about this.
Yeah.
There's some sort of separation you're putting in there so it doesn't make its way to our sewer system.
There is. There is a separation from, the whole system is a wet system. So as he's cutting and it creates the dust, it's collected, and then it goes through a purifier and separator. And they claim that the water coming out of the separator is cleaner than the water going
I just wanted to clarify one thing. Ann pointed out in the letter of request, it states the hours of operation, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturday from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. So should we?
Yeah, I wasn't aware of
Okay,
Saturday.
no, I just want to make sure, because if we set the hours,
Yeah, that's
that's
fine,
the
yeah.
hours. So we're going to go with Saturdays.
That's fine, yeah.
Okay. Are there any questions from the public? The board?
No?
If not, could I ask for a motion to approve the special use permit?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You're all set?
Thank you.
Our third request is a request from Kaylin O'Brien of JBH Properties LLC, owner of 4A Center Court, Green Island, granting authorization to Cellco Partnership, doing business as Verizon Wireless, to apply for land use approvals for the proposed telecommunications facility. Tonight, we're not actually taking any action on this. We're not voting. This is just something David Brennan, who is their attorney, would like to make a presentation and tell everybody what they're looking to do.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dave Brennan with the law firm of Young Summer out of Albany. With me tonight, I have the property owner, Kaylin O'Brien, with us. Also with me is Rick Andrews, who's an RF or radio frequency engineer with Verizon Wireless. If we have any particular questions, and I know we have a tight time schedule, so kick us both if we start talking too long. And also Frank Murphy, who's a site acquisition specialist. He's like the real estate agent that finds sites for Verizon. So in very basic terms, we're proposing a monopole telecommunications tower at 4 Center Court. It's proposed to be a 120-foot tall tower with a 4-foot lightning rod on top. The lightning rod is roughly the size of a pinky, like a copper post for lightning protection. Below that, at the 116-foot level, will be a set of panel antennas, what you typically see on other cell towers. And then there's room for 3 additional carriers if right now in this area there's AT&T and T-Mobile are the other ones, but then Dish Network is deploying. So there'll be room for up to 3 additional, the other 3 carriers with adequate room and space for their equipment. So that's the proposal. At the base of it, within the fence compound, is our equipment cabinets. They're elevated 8 feet above grade because we're in the floodplain, flood zone, and that electrical equipment needs to be elevated up out of the flood zone. No generator is proposed. Many times on cell towers, you'll see in particular areas there's a generator. In this particular case, because of where it is and the nature of the network, a generator is not necessary, so you don't have any potential noise. It operates 24/7. We could talk as much as you want about RF, but not tonight maybe. But the real reason, so that's the proposal. The real reason is right now there's no antennas serving the village of Green Island. What service we have, and the phones all work. We're not here to say your phones don't work. But the service originates primarily from the Kennedy Tower in the city of Troy and shoots across with 1 set of antennas. We're on the City of Watervliet water tank behind the vicinity of Fenimore Trace apartments going on in the City of Watervliet. We're on the Watervliet Senior Building behind McDonald's in Watervliet, and we're on the Cohoes Seniors Building up by what I would call the community center in the city of Cohoes. Primarily it comes from Troy, but you get a little bit of signal from those 3 other sites. What happens is you're at the far end of all of those. They're capacity limited, so cell towers, it's not like PIX 106 that transmits at 50,000 watts trying to reach Lake George. The sites have only so many people that they can serve, and they have so much basically power. So it's at the end of the distance that's using the most power. And what happens is the village kind of receives the short end of the stick in the sense of people in Troy are getting better service. When it gets over here, you're capacity limited, the signal is not as good, and you start running into problems. Related to that, and it's certainly not as big of an issue, but a recurring issue is because primarily the service comes from that tower in Troy, is when someone calls 911. And I have all sorts of statistics and facts and figures, but we'll say it's 80% of 911 calls probably come on cell phones nowadays, not off the landline. It may vary a little bit, but many people, something like 75% have cut the landline, just have the cell phone. And I used to ask we used to be afraid of asking the question, who doesn't have a cell phone? Maybe somebody in the room doesn't have a cell phone, but the days of me being worried about that, most people have a cell phone. But those cell phone calls to 911 are hitting that tower, and then they go to Rensselaer County Dispatch. And then Rensselaer County Dispatch, I've run into this a couple other times up and down the Hudson River in Saratoga County. They call it Albany, they have to transfer the call over to Albany County for dispatch. So if you have a locally based tower that is serving primarily close in, what we would expect is a significant improvement of that 911 call being on the wrong jurisdiction, and then it could be improved. The other thing is, with a closer in tower serving the villages, you'll get much higher data speeds, and you'll basically have, and I'll put Rick on the spot eventually to kick me if I'm saying this incorrectly, but you basically will start getting broadband level speeds where you have a much higher performance, and ultimately what you would have is some competition to Spectrum. I don't believe Verizon Fios is in the village, but Spectrum is, so eventually what you would have is better ability to have competing services. That's the reason, that's the project, and I know we have a process in front of us, and probably what I would ask is there's a couple of things that could be potentially done. I know it hasn't been sent to county planning yet, which is a 30-day process. We'd love to see at least refer to county planning because they met on St. Patrick's Day, so their next meeting is like the third Thursday in April. And then there is a federal shot clock for these applications, which say they're supposed to be acted on in 150 days from submission. That 150 days actually runs out at the end of March, not creating a problem or causing it, but I would like is an agreement that we can extend that and just sign a letter agreement that we're waiving that and extending that out to adjust for that, because lawyers hate missing deadlines, and that's one of those ones that I will get in a little bit of trouble if I let lapse, but we can certainly extend it, and no pressure, but I wanted to ask that request. And like I said, I could talk about this for an hour. I know you don't want to hear it for an hour, so I'd probably ask if there's any particular questions or information we can provide. I know we provided the standard 1-inch book worth of materials. The other thing I would say is there was a request for an area variance for the front yard setback. There's two things going on with that. One is that was for the fence. There's already a fence in front of it, so I would probably take the position I said in my materials that it's possibly a pre-existing non-conforming use. And the other one is the zoning code says that if you're not adjacent to a residential district, the yard setbacks don't apply. And so there may be two different reasons why the zoning board doesn't have to deal with that variance, but I'm not arguing that much over we're at 36 feet and we need 40, so I think the 4 feet is not a big issue, but I raised those two things for the consideration of the zoning board when we get to that point.
Okay, I just wanted to let the board know that you've been working with Clough Harbor, with Joe Amano from Clough Harbor for quite a while now.
Yes.
Answering questions, so we don't have the full site plan yet from Joe, but when we do, we'll meet again.
Okay.
And then we'll actually be able to vote.
Okay, yes.
But you do want to, I ask for a motion when you do send me a letter to extend that 150 days. If I could have a motion for the board to allow me to sign that.
Oh,
I'll make that motion.
yeah, I'll second that.
Joe? We need that approval, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nope.
And we're all set. Does anyone have any questions right now at this point?
I'd like to comment.
No, just,
If indeed this will prevent the 911 calls from going to Rensselaer County, that would be a very important thing for Green Island, because on EMS calls or fire, we lose a lot of time doing that. And I know they have a process they have to go through, but we've told everybody in Green Island, if you have a landline, use that to call 911. So if that will help, that would be very important to our community.
I did discuss that with Rick before I arrived, because I knew that was an issue, and so we're very comfortable that there is, with a site located in Albany County, it should exclusively feed to Albany County Dispatch, and then I know there's a little bit of breakup between which town handles what, but I guess it's the county at this point is handling.
The county does our dispatch.
Dispatch, yeah. So, and then because it's a new site, we also have the ability to finesse that a little bit if there's any issues. So we would expect that the vast majority of calls originating in the village would all serve off of this tower and not Troy anymore, and so that would hopefully, I would never promise eliminate, but significantly change that dynamic.
That'd be great.
Yes.
Now, your presentation related strictly to cell phone use, is that correct?
In a sense, yes. I mean, it's both cell phones for voice communications as well as data.
Okay, you did mention spectrum. Now, you don't in any way at all have the possibility of interfering with cable systems in Green Island, do you? And also, being spectrum is on a wire cable system, how about the direct systems coming from a satellite?
Sure, there would be no interference. It's a good question. I kind of, in a longer presentation, I would have covered that. But we do have a non-interference letter prepared by Rick. But basically, we operate on licensed frequencies that have been Verizon licensed frequencies for years, and will have no effect on hardwired or landline cable, and also do not interfere with the Dish Network or the other ones that operate on a radio or other satellite type signal. And so we're very comfortable. There's also a process within the FCC if there is interference on how the various carriers, it's typically would be more between the other carriers, but how they resolve frequency disputes, but we're all on licensed sections and we operate far enough apart. You know, part of this is, it used to be the old UHF dial on the TV that never quite worked for me growing up. That got decommissioned and that got sold to Verizon Wireless and the other carriers. So these are frequencies that have been around and used for years. It's just they get reused and auctioned off on occasion. So we're very comfortable. We won't bring any interference into the community.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have one question.
Yep.
Could you also and I guess maybe an extension of Mr. Tracy's question, the difference for cell service, and you said data, but that is different from Wi-Fi.
Yes.
So I just want to make sure everyone is clear on that, and it also, as far as 5G is concerned, with the rollout of 5G, that's not what this will.
So there's a lot in that question.
Yeah.
So Wi-Fi is the.
I just want to make sure people know the difference between cell, the data, even when they're using their phone, and Wi-Fi service. That is not, this cell tower is not going to encompass all of that.
Correct. So Wi-Fi would typically be a router in your house that is connected typically to a landline cable, or in some communities where Fios was being deployed, Fios, and then that basically operates off your devices and you connect to Wi-Fi. We do have data service, which is in this proximity would operate at near internet level speeds, but that is if you have a Verizon subscription and a Verizon device. So you'd either have to have a phone or possibly like a tablet that has a card in it that communicates on the system. The last part that gets a little bit more complicated is you can't turn on the TV and not see a commercial for 5G. So Verizon will be deploying 5G off of this proposed tower if it's approved. There's two types of 5G, this is where I say it's complicated. This will have 5G, which is a technology. So it reuses the frequencies that we've used for years. 5G is not a new frequency, it's a technology that basically speeds things up, I'll say roughly by 10 times. That'll be on our existing frequency that we've always used, but it will improve the performance. There is ultra wide high band 5G, which is the one that you sometimes see or sometimes see in the news with people worried about. That is a different frequency that's not being proposed to be deployed on this tower.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And our time is up. But if anyone has any other questions that they think of afterwards, because it's a lot of information that's been provided, if you send me those questions, I'll forward them to David and we'll get answers for everybody before we meet again.
Sounds good, yeah.
It's nice seeing everyone. Thank you very much for your time and look forward to the next one.
And I have a motion to adjourn.
I make the motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.